Hi, I'm Melissa Bill, and welcome to the Business Roundup, where we catch up with the movers and shakers in the business world. Today, joining me is Dr. K.L. Allen. He's an education specialist and vice president for the Northeast region of Western Governors University. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be here. And thank you very much for having me as well.
Now, I know education is in the education system is something that's really changing and going through a lot of disruption, I think, at this point. And some of those changes could be good, and maybe a good time to make some, I don't know, like some changes that will benefit the system. So, we start off with you giving us a little bit of your background at first?
Yeah, sure. It's always when I think about my background and I tell people I've been in higher education for over 20 years now. I always stop like, where did the time go? Because it just seems it's like yesterday. I'm from rural North Carolina. Always also like to tell people my passion from education came from my parents. My mother was an educator for 30 years. My father was in law enforcement for 30 years, and so I thought I was going into law enforcement to follow the footsteps of my father. And one day they were having a conversation and they were debating at that time where the state of North Carolina should put funding. And my father said, well, we should have more funding put in the criminal justice system. And my mom, being the educator that she is, she was like, no, honey, if we put more funding in the education system, we will have less people in the criminal justice system. And that started my passion for, higher ed education, helping people to take those deferred dreams and to make them reality. And so since that conversation, after going into the Army National Guard, I've spent the rest of my life in the higher ed sector and trying to make everything that my parents said a reality. Is we have a lot of great people, but a lot of times it's how do we build that confidence? And that comes from education. And it may not happen right after high school. It could be later in life. But I'm a firm believer if we pour into our people, our communities will be better and they will be safer.
That's true. You give people the opportunity and also just help them have confidence in themselves. That makes a lot of sense. And now, what are some of the shifts you're seeing in the education landscape right now?
Well, when I think about higher ed now, I think we're having to unlearn a lot of old habits. And so there is a lot of change happening. I mean, the era of what my parents used to tell me is get the degree first, figure it out later. I feel like that's kind of fading away. Today's learners, in my opinion, they want the relevance, they want flexibility, and that return on investments. And so universities now, we've been more challenged to act more like an ecosystem than an institution. And what I mean by that is we have to connect education, we have to connect employment and our mobility in real time. And so that's a transition in the past. In the past, it's like, hey, go to school, get a job, or well, get a degree, and you should get a job. Now people want to make sure there's a return on investment. So when I think about that biggest shift, it's not just digital, it's philosophical. It's about now measuring value through outcomes and not tradition. So we're just seeing a different learner, different model, and we have to adapt. We can't be slow because, again, our communities are counting on us.
Right, to kind of keep up with those changes. And now, how is the increase in online degrees and career certificates benefiting the economy?
I mean, online, before COVID, I felt people looked at online education as like, okay, as a fad, it's going to go away. COVID gave credence to why online exists. And so you think about that online learner, they're the ones that's helping to close that workforce skills gap faster than even the traditional model. Because now people don't really have time to go to class, especially like your older students. So when adults can essentially reskill or upskill without quitting their job, I mean, that positively impacts the economy and that so the economy gains momentum. Then you think about every new credential adds like that earning power because again, people may not have the opportunity to get that degree, but they can also get that credential, which boosts that productivity, strengthens the local economies, keep people from making bad decisions. And we also keep that talent in motion. And for a lot of the governors that I have conversations with, they're in this competition to keep that talent within state. So you also keep that talent within that state. And so that's another key thing. And then now it's just not about the degrees. It's about giving people the tools to adapt as these industries evolve at the same time.
Right, and that makes sense. And a lot of the stuff is online, which, is like even our work, a lot of our work has also become online. And so those tech skills are another thing that I know are important for people to learn, especially like my generation was definitely not in the tech era, but I had to kind of like really do catch up and kind of get with the times type of thing. Now, how is this allowing for the democratization of higher education, kind of opening it up to more people?
So I'm gonna address that question, but I'm gonna go back to like, that generation.
Heck.
Like
Okay.
it's I I guess I'm considered Gen X, but it's really amazing how much had changed in my lifetime. I remember when I was going to school, there was a floppy disk, and now I bring up the kids now floppy disks. It was like, what is a floppy disk? Or I think about a payphone. It was like, what is a payphone? And so it is amazing in our era, in our lifetime, how we've actually seen things come into existence as well as die. And so if you start to bring that into the democratization of like higher education, I look at it like online education, online learning essentially took the gate off the gatekeeper. You got geography, you have time, you have income, are no longer the deciding factors of who gets to learn. It's open for everyone. Whether you're a working parent, fellow veterans, you have people also like I'm from rural North Carolina, like you have the rural learners. They now have access to the same education, to the same schools. Think about WGU and other schools are competency based. And so rewards like the mastery, not the seat time, because we've got so focused a lot of times on that seat time. But I think all of us would agree we all learn at different speeds because of our lived experience. So just because you sit in a class for a semester or a quarter doesn't necessarily mean you're coming out learning or mastering the subject. And so I'm excited about the schools who are focused now on mastery as opposed to seat time, because it again creates a level playing field where opportunity isn't inherent, it's earned. And so to me, that's true democratization.
Yeah, that's true too. And like you were saying, like a lot of times people, like kids, if they wanted to go to like this particular university to get that particular degree, it might be across the country. It was a lot more expensive. They have to pay out of state tuitions. So
Mhm.
that makes it easier too.
Spot on. Again, I think about, the little small area I'm from, we didn't have a lot of choices. But now to open it up, I always tell people it's not about where you're from, it's about where you're at, your drive, your determination. And so this opens us up for if you have a dream, you can now make that dream reality. Like all those excuses have been removed. And so again, this is another facet of higher ed and education that excites me.
And now, what are a few of the main fields of online learning that must be like focused on, including like AI? What do you think are going to be the new fields?
It's so funny. Can we have a conversation in today's time without even saying AI? There's no way possible. It's such a main word now. So I think about the future of education. One, AI, will it take jobs? Yes. But I always tell people like the ones who will be adversely impacted are the ones that will don't understand and don't take the time to learn AI. So the future to me belongs to those who are fluid in both technology as well as humanity. I want to underline technology as well as humanity, because we need continue to make deep investments in artificial intelligence as well as data literacy. And while I throw data literacy in there, is like it's not just about coding AI, but it's also understanding what's its ethical impact in the world of understanding that when people put things out, we still need to do the research to make sure that's reality. Then you have the aspect of cybersecurity of we have to continue to protect that data infrastructure, because if we're not protecting that, we're just not defending and thinking about it. You then have the healthcare and the behavioral science aspect of things as telehealth. I'll put my personal business. Like when I found out that I had COVID years back, it was through telehealth. And I never thought there would be a time that I could see a healthcare person online, but that's what's happening now. And that's reshaping communities, also helping the rural communities out. You think about the education and the learning design. It's preparing teachers to lead in this whole AI driven classroom because it looks different then again, when some of us, we were in the whole floppy disk era and played Oregon Trails and so forth. So then sustainability and green energy. I'm a big believer that this next workforce will help build a cleaner world. And so I try not to speak on things as just academic errors, but also the whole economic lifeline aspect of things.
And now, how is your own journey from Princeville to Purpose influence the way you lead in this kind of work?
Uh, I carry Princeville, my small zip code, in every room that I enter. I'm a firm believer is um, grown up on that dirt road. We always like to say it. And then we didn't worry about what color you were. We all were going through it. So it's a reminder that, again, potential doesn't, exist just in your zip code. Growing up in that small town taught me that access changes everything. Every decision that I make is, how do I create access for others? How is, through a leader, do I look at the lens of someone else? What are they going through? Where are they trying to become? And so my purpose is to ensure that I make education available, which also forces me to keep those doors open for others. Never get too high, never get too low. But, I always say, I'm going to leave this world one day. So how do I leave this world a better place? And it's to ensure that we focus on what brings us together, not what divides us. And that's what Prince has taught me. And that's how I lead.
Amazing. Now, what advice would you give someone who's lost faith in the promise of education? They're kind of struggling right now.
Uh, it's a great question. One, I would tell people that are thinking about online education, it was never about like the classroom. It's about education. It's about the comeback. It's about, like, where do you want to go at? Life happens, dreams can get deferred, but learning is what reclaims those dreams. Don't chase the degree, chase the growth. And when you learn, you're no longer stuck where life has left you. That's when I began. That's when you start living. Like, you can move, you can make things happen. Don't allow those dreams to be deferred. If you're going through situations, education, whether it's degree or moving forward, like, that's the great equalizer. And so if you've thought about it, make it happen. Stop delaying. Stop creating excuses. Whatever you want to become in life, you still have the opportunity to do it. And just make sure you have a board of directors, which to me is your support system. And so I just want to tell all the listeners, you have one life to live it to the fullest, build your legacy, and I know you can do it.
That's great. And I know one thing too is like it's never too, you're never too old to learn too. And my grandmother used to say, the day you stop learning, you stop like living or whatever. But
Yeah.
you always need to be growing. And so even at any age, it's probably a good idea just to keep that going and keep the education going.
I look, your grandmother said it best, because I subscribe to that as well. That's why I love to read. You have to continue to learn. You have to continue to put yourself in situations. And my father always said, he said, son, one step outside of your comfort zone puts you in a learning zone. So always become uncomfortable, have that growth mindset, don't have a fixed mindset, and just learn and teach others. Realize people come from different walks of life, but that's what makes the world so great, is like we can learn from each other.
Absolutely. And now, if people wanted more information on Western Governors University, what would be the best way to find it?
Go to our website, which is wgu.edu. It has all of our information, scholarships. Our average tuition graduate is just over $8,800 a year, but wgu.edu is our best website.
Okay, so it has scholarships and then different like courses online as well. Okay, perfect.
That is
And
correct. Which are 4 schools: Levitt School of Health, School of Business, School of Education, and our School of Technology. So it has all of our degrees listed there for you.
wonderful. And then for you, are you on LinkedIn? Would it be a good way to kind of reach out to you?
Yes, just look
Okay,
look for me on LinkedIn, K.L.Allen. There's another KL, but just find me, K.L.Allen. Feel free to engage with me. Look forward to engaging back. And Melissa, thank you for your time and your continued support.
thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining the Business Roundup, where we always try to bring you interviews with some of the leading people in business, whether it be technology, finance, or energy. I hope you tune in. I hope you subscribe and listen, and we'll give you updates for new interviews that are coming up. Until next time, I'm Melissa Bill.